In today's video, we're going to be taking a first look at and reviewing the brand new action camera from Insta360. This is their new Ace Pro, and all of the video that you just saw in the intro was filmed on this bad boy. We're really excited to test out this camera. We've been testing out Insta360 cameras for the last few years, and this is their first dedicated pure action camera style camera, and this thing is packing some serious power. And we're going to be testing this camera from the perspective of a cyclist. But full disclosure, before we begin, this camera was sent over to us by Insta360 for us to review, and they are sponsoring today's video. We've been partnering with Insta360 for the last few years, and we love testing out their new cameras. They're always pushing the limits of action cameras and adding new features like this flip screen here. We'll be testing out this camera in a couple different filming modes, using the chest mount, using the on-bike mount, using the handheld mount, and testing it in different lighting conditions. So we'll have all of that video sample later in the video. First, let's go over some of the new specs on this camera. And the first thing you'll notice is this flip out screen. So it locks in place when it's folded down like that, and you have your normal screen like this. The screen is really large, and it's crazy that you can just flip it out like this, and you can just film selfie style like that, and you have a full large preview screen of what you're filming. So this is really useful if you're filming in a handheld mode or a vlog style mode. You get a perfect preview of what you're filming. The other crazy upgrade on this camera is you'll notice it has a Leica lens, so they're using some serious glass on this. And in addition to this preview screen up here in the top, we've also got a smaller preview screen in the front. This one doesn't give you any video sample, but it does tell you what mode you're filming in, and it does have an indicator light to let you know that you're filming. And with the new chip in here, the power upgrade on this is just ridiculous. It can film in 4K 120 frames per second, so we should be able to get some really cool slow motion shots. And what's even crazier is this thing can now film in 8K. I don't think there's ever a situation where we'll ever need to film in 8K, but it can do it. And because this camera can film in 8K, it can double zoom without any loss of quality in 4K. So we'll add some video sample of that right here. Anyway, that's enough about the specs. Let's start filming and test this out in some different cycling situations and see how it performs. So for our first film test, we're gonna film in handheld mode. I'm using 4K 60 frames per second in the de-warp profile. The big advantage of the handheld mode is you can control exactly where you're pointing the camera. And with this large preview screen, I can see exactly what I'm filming. And one other thing I'm really excited about with this camera is with the larger chip, it can now process a lot of the stabilization and extra effects inside the camera body. So you don't need to edit this in post inside the application. You can just pull out your SD card and you have your files ready to go right away. One other thing I should mention is this camera does have 3 different filming modes. We're just using the default filming mode right now. One of the other filming modes is better for low light situations, so we'll be testing that out later in the video. And the other filming mode is a freestyle filming mode, which captures almost 180-degree kind of profile, so you can edit that completely in post. But anyway, the handheld camera position should be doing really good. We've got some decent lighting conditions right now. We got the ocean in the background, the city in the background, and we're filming this in 4K 60 frames per second. We're exporting the video in 30 frames per second, so we can still get some nice slow motion shots. But for the crispy stuff, we want to film in 4K 120 frames per second. That'll get some really nice quality slow motion video. So for our next test, we found a little Vietnamese dance party going on over here. So we're gonna test the zoom. So just double tap on the screen and we should get a double zoom in on these guys with their little dance party over there. They're still a little bit far away, but compared to what the normal screen is, that digital zoom is pretty impressive. One thing I forgot to mention is this thing has a really awesome new mount system. So we just used this little adapter here, and it's magnetic. So it just pops in place like that. You hear the click, and then it's ready to go. And to remove it, we just push both sides. So really liking this quick mount system. This is so much quicker and easier than twisting and untwisting these all the time. So I'm definitely gonna have to pick up a few more of these magnetic adapters here. This is awesome. And to attach the bike to the handlebars, I'm just using Insta360's handlebar mount like this, and I'm just mounting the camera right on top like that. And the other really cool thing about this setup is while I'm riding, I can see exactly what I'm filming and what's in my field of view. So let's go ahead and test this setup next.
Let's go.
So here we are starting our first on-bike camera test. We got some road riders coming out for their ride today. And for this first test, I'm just gonna be using the most narrow field of view. The advantage of filming with this style is you don't need to worry about the camera. Whenever you turn your handlebars, it'll focus on what you're seeing. But the disadvantage of this is you're limited to wherever you can point your handlebars. So if something happens to your side, you're not going to be able to film it. And if the roads are really bumpy, your bike's going to absorb a lot of those vibrations and it's going to go into the camera. So that's why I usually like to do on-body types of setups. But if you're racing on smooth roads, this is a really nice and simple camera setup. And for this next test, I've switched to the Ultra profile. So the last field of view was the D-Warp. That's the most narrow setting. This one is the Ultra, so a little bit wider, a little bit better for sports activities. But the wider you go, you tend to get that more fish angle style look. They do have one wider setting, so let's test that one out too. And now we're on the widest profile. This is the action setting. So we should be able to see a lot more detail on the sides of the video now, but maybe a little bit of warp. So which setting do you think is best? The action extra wide or the ultra medium width setting, which we've got on right now, or the D-Warp setting, which is the most narrow profile of them all? I think it really depends on the scenery and how much you want to get in the shot, but I typically prefer to use the more narrow profile, but if it's a really amazing landscape, I'll probably switch it to the wider one just to fit more information in the shot. So the disadvantage of all the video I've been filming so far is I need to manually select which field of view I want to film in. And once I film that video, I can't adjust it later. So for this next setting, I'm going to be filming in the freeform video mode. This is the most flexible option. It basically gives you almost a 180-degree video file, and then you need to download the file into your Insta360 app. You can do it on your phone, tablet, or desktop, and then you can adjust how you want to export the video. So if you want to export it as a vertical video, as a horizontal video, and you can also choose the field of view that you want. So you have complete control of how you export that video. And this really is the ultimate way to film your videos because it gives you complete control. You don't need to worry about anything. The only disadvantage with this setup is it does require extra time because you need to edit the video and export it on your computer or your phone until you get the final video. But I will say nothing is worse than filming in a narrow profile and something happens really interesting just barely outside of where it's filming, or you don't get it in center, it's not a pretty view. And with this mode, you don't need to worry about that because you get extra movement. Even if the camera's not pointing exactly where you want to focus, you can control that all in post and you get some amazing shots. Speaking of amazing shots, we've got some beautiful scenery here, but it's blocked by the shrubbery on the side. So I'm gonna switch back to the handheld mount. So let's get back on the handheld mount here so we can get these beautiful shots of the city in the background. Let's also do a little walking test here of the in-body stabilization. We've just got the stabilization set to medium right now. You can go to a higher setting, but it gives a little bit more of a crop. So how is the stabilization in the camera body without any extra post? We've got a little bit of an overcast day today, so not the best of lighting conditions, but I think this camera is still going to perform really well. Let's test out the digital zoom here. So if we double click on the screen, we should get a double zoom in the city down below. And it looks really good on the previous screen. We'll have to see how it looks on the computer. Double click again, and we'll get back to our normal view up here. Also, let's do a quick little selfie test. I've got my selfie stick on right now, and I'm loving this preview screen. It's massive. And before, with the other cameras, it's just a tiny little preview screen, but with this one, we can see exactly what's going on. It also looks like it has face tracking, so it's highlighting around my face right now, and that's really cool. It's highlighting on both of us actually right now. This preview screen is ridiculous, and yeah, the lighting looks really good. We got the sun right in front of us. Let's turn around and see what it looks like with the backlighting. So right now the sun's behind me. We should be a little bit darker, but it's still looking pretty good. We're not even using the low light filming mode right now, and this thing's performing like a champ. Let's also do a close-up on the bike, see how the detail looks with this. It's all looking really good on the preview screen. Looks like Tung's enjoying the new camera.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of the new camera?
New screen?
The new screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's really big, so we can take perfect selfies. Yeah. Another new feature on this camera is it actually has gesture control mode. So if you do a peace sign like this, it'll take a picture. And if you hold your hand up like this, it'll start and record the video. Let's also do a quick audio test with the camera. So for my videos, I usually use an external microphone, But let's test the default camera microphones. So right now this audio is coming from the camera. We're cycling at a decent little pace, a little bit of wind. Usually I don't have too high of expectations with action camera audio. If you want good audio, you'll usually want to get a good wind cover or use a separate microphone. So we're getting a little bit windier now. On another note though, these sunset views here are just absolutely stunning. Beautiful views here. It's crazy hot here in Vietnam, so we always ride at sunset time, which is good for riding, but bad for filming videos because we don't have too much light, but luckily we're getting a little bit of sunset right here. All right, and for our next video test, we're gonna be doing another on-body camera check. This is one of my favorite mounts to use while cycling. This is the chest mount. And when I use the chest mount, I like to have my camera pointing downwards. I feel that way it lets me get the angle I want and a slightly lower profile, which looks better for me. You can see when your hands are on the handlebars like this, you're leaning slightly over, especially if you're in a more aggressive position. You're not gonna have room for this camera to be facing upwards. So I always have my camera pointing downwards like this. The disadvantage with this method though is you can't take advantage of the rear preview screen, but you still do have the front screen here to let you know that you're at least filming. And with this test, I'm gonna film in the freeform camera mode because I don't know how wide of a shot I want. I don't know how much of my arms I want in the shot. And with that mode, I can completely control that all in post. All right, starting the test in the chest mount. Downhill time. We're actually gonna go back downhill the way we came up because the views are a little bit better this way. And when using the chest mount, another tip I have is to make sure that the camera is dead center. So the chest mount can move around a little bit depending on how tight you have it. And just make sure when you're filming that you have it in the center of your chest. It also helps to make sure that you have the angle pointed straight outwards directly in front of you so that you don't have it slightly pointing down or pointing up. But luckily with this freeform filming setting, we don't really have to worry about that because we can edit that all in post. So just for a quick example here, I can have it filming more upwards right now, and I can have it filming more downwards right now, and I can have it just right. So this is all stuff that you can do in the post edit, and that flexibility and control is just awesome to have. It's one less thing to worry about while you're out on your ride, and you don't run the risk of missing an important shot. The chest mount is one of my favorite ways to film because I found that the stabilization is just next level quality. Whenever you use an on-camera mount, you run the risk of extra vibrations, and if there's a rough road, the stabilization quality can go down a little bit. The other nice thing with the chest mount is I do have some level of control. If something interesting happens to the right side, I can grab the chest mount with my hands and I can control the angle that way. And I can just let go, put the chest mount back where it was, and then just continue focusing on my ride. So it's a really flexible setup. Here we go, continuing our downhill. And with this area, with all the mountains in the distance, I feel like a wider profile will just look really nice. And for our last test, we're gonna be filming in some low light conditions using the PureVideo mode. This is a brand new video mode that Insta360 developed for low light situations. So we're nearing sunset right now. We're in a cloudy, shaded environment right now, and we're gradually gonna be continuing to film and test as it gets darker and darker. We can also do the selfie stick test on the climb. This preview screen is ridiculous. I can see everything. And yeah, starting to get a little bit darker here, but the preview screen looks really clear. Looks like the video quality still really good. You enjoying the climb?
Yes. I'm stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, we just finished our week-long bikepacking trip, so Tung should be a lot stronger with her climbing now. Check this out. All these people out on their racing bikes today. So the sun has mostly set. We're going to be doing our final low light test here in the low light mode video settings. So let's go ahead and continue the rest of our ride.
Let's go.
So we barely got a little bit of sun peeping out there in the distance and starting to get dark here over the city. Let's see how well this performs in the low light. So there's still no street lights on right now, just barely any light on this road now. And on the preview screen, it looks pretty good to me. Usually with low light video, the thing that suffers the most will be the stabilization, since there's not enough light data for it to process. But on the preview screen, this is looking pretty good. The preview screen though, does look a little bit brighter than it actually looks in real life. Got a little barbecue going on right there. And let's see, how does the low light look on the face? Chun-Chan's beautiful face. Looking pretty good. And here we go, it's starting to get really dark. Sun's pretty much completely gone now. We're back in the city. We've got some of the lights off on the side. You can see we got a lot of nice outside dining here. And of course, bike drivers go in the opposite direction, so always got to be cautious here. Anyway, on the preview screen, this is looking really clear, really nice. It still looks a little bit brighter than it actually is in real life, but I'd rather it be brighter than too dark where you can't see it. All right guys, that's going to conclude our review of the Insta360 Ace Pro. I had a lot of fun testing this guy out, and I'm really excited to continue testing it out in different situations. Let us know down in the comments which was your favorite shooting profile. Did you like the chest mount? Do you like the handlebar mount? Do you like the selfie stick? Which one is your favorite? And did we miss anything? Are there other profiles that we should try and test out in a future video? Let us know down in the comments. At first, I wasn't really sure how I felt about this selfie screen, this flip out screen. I didn't feel like it was something I needed, especially during cycling rides, but it proved me wrong. It was really useful in a lot of the different situations, so I actually really enjoyed it, and it feels really durable. This whole camera feels really solid, and some other features that I really enjoyed was this new magnet adapter here. This thing was a game changer. I'm definitely gonna have to pick up a few extra of these. Really easy to use. I'm also really excited to see how the 4K 120 frames per second footage comes out. We should be able to get some really sick slow-mo with that. And before we go, we want to say another special thank you to Insta360 for sending this camera over for us to review, and also for sponsoring today's video. We've been partnering with Insta360 for the last 3 years, and we love testing their cameras. They always have new, unique features, and they're really pushing the limits of what action cameras can do, rather than just sticking in the same standard narrow box. They're always releasing new features, and I was really impressed with this camera and really excited to continue testing it on our rides. If you're interested in getting one for yourself, you can use our affiliate link down below, and it also helps support our channel. So that's it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We also want to say a special thank you to all of our awesome supporters over on Patreon. Thanks to your guys' support, we're able to continue filming more cycling videos. We really wouldn't be able to do it without you guys, so thank you as always. That's it for today's video, guys. We'll see you next time here on Two Wheel Cruise.
Bye.